I was supposed to be an air traffic controller. Today I teach sign language at a community college. The author Andrew Holleran once wrote that every new friendship in gay life entails an explanation of how I got here. Over the years, I've found that to be true, not only in gay culture, but also in military culture and in deaf culture. And really, it's broadly true in human culture. This is how we connect. And invariably, over the years, when I meet people, they want to know, how did I get from over there 30 years ago to where I am today? I don't know why I wanted to be an air traffic controller. I had an interest in aviation, but I didn't particularly want to fly airplanes. I did have this idea in my head, though, of sitting underground in a dark room with a radar screen, chain-smoking cigarettes. So I decided to go to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. I had enough money to pay for the first year of college, but after that, I didn't really have a plan. And not long after I got there, I discovered Air Force ROTC. And I thought, I'm supposed to be an air traffic controller, but ROTC had scholarships. And at that time, scholarships were tied to particular career fields, which is how I ended up becoming a missile launch officer in the Air Force. I still got to work underground, but instead of airplanes and radar screens, we had launch codes and nuclear weapons. I liked the military, but I realized rather quickly that I didn't want to make a career of it. And I began wondering, had I taken the wrong path? And also thinking, well, if not this, then what? And the more I thought about what else I might be good at, what else I might want to do, I kept coming back to this idea of teaching. But I still wasn't convinced. I didn't know who I wanted to teach. I didn't know what I wanted to teach. I was supposed to be an air traffic controller. And then I went to the doctor, or the dentist. I don't even remember anymore. And in the waiting room, I picked up a copy of Time magazine. April 4th, 1994. And there was an article that caught my eye. It had a picture across the top of hands spelling out the word AIDS. And this was 1994. The disease was still spreading rapidly all over the world. But as it turns out, it was spreading even more quickly within the deaf community. And the article explained reasons for this, the communication barrier being chief among them. And what it boiled down to was that many deaf people didn't know what AIDS was, they didn't know how to spread it, they didn't know how to not spread it. And there was a story in the article about a deaf man being brought into a hospital, having some kind of AIDS-related crisis. And maybe he was seizing, maybe he was signing, there was no interpreter, and the hospital tied down his hands. That got to me. I thought, here's somebody trying to scream, they just tie down what he screams with. And then it was my turn to see the doctor, and I went on with my day. But for weeks after that, I couldn't get the images out of my head. I kept thinking about it. And finally, a good friend of mine said, hey, if this is what you wake up thinking about every day, that's what you need to go and do. And I thought, I was supposed to be an air traffic controller. But of course, he was right. I had just finished my degree in aeronautical science, my master's. I thought, well, crap. I need another master, this time in deaf education. So I went to Kent State University, and I was hooked after the first class. I finished the degree, and for 10 years, I taught deaf kids. Interpreting was something that I kind of got dragged into, but I actually really liked it. And I always joked it was the one thing that would take me out of the classroom, and in the end, it did. And I was a freelance sign language interpreter for many years. And I found myself interpreting one semester for a Dr. Jim Reed in a communication class, who promptly dragged me over to the O2 building and said, we need to hire this guy, which is how I ended up teaching again. I share this story with my students at the beginning of my deaf culture course to emphasize the importance of storytelling and making connections in a minority culture. But I've also found it a really valuable tool to share with students who are struggling with what they want to do with their life. Where do they want to go? And I tell them, you can make a choice now, and it's important to do that. But down the road, more than once, you can make a different choice, and that's absolutely okay. I say, look at me. I'm a teacher and an interpreter and a veteran. But I was supposed to be an air traffic controller.